Straw, I'm Parker, and together we are the Battlehammer. Do-do-do-do-do-do. And ahoy hoy is the appropriate welcome to this video. More welcome than it ever normally is, because this episode of Parker Paints has been hijacked, shanghaied, commandeered, if you will, by sailors slash pirates slash people on boats. I was very lucky to have been sent by Warcradle Studios, who make Wild West Exodus. They are getting ready to release Dystopian Wars, or re-release Dystopian Wars, which was a game that was originally by a company called Spartan. It was a game set on the high seas in a steampunk kind of world where the world was fighting over stuff, and you had boats, like tiny little boats, blowing each other up and stuff. A real big cult following of people. Unfortunately, Spartan went under as a business. Warcradle decided, hey, we like that game, we want to keep it going, so they bought the IP and are going to be re-releasing it soon. I don't know exactly when, but soon. There's going to be a 2-player starter set called Hunt for the Prometheus, and this sprue in my hand may not look like a great deal when you look at it here, but this is the first sprue that they are releasing for Dystopian Wars. This is going to be in the 2-player starter set. This is the Commonwealth Cruiser and Frigates Part A, also Part B. So you've got Russian Commonwealth frigates and a cruiser. 2 frigates and a cruiser on this. The cruiser can be built multiple ways with different guns. The first plastic sprue that Warcradle Studios are making in-house. They've had plastic sprues available before, but they've always had them made in China, but they've actually got injection molded plastic facilities now on site, and they're making plastic sprues. This was made in Hockley in Essex. So they sent us a little preview copy of the sprue to show you lovely people what it looks like. So Parker will be painting some little boats and building you and showing you around the sprue and stuff like that. So that's it really. I hope you enjoy this. I don't exactly know what I'm going to be doing with the painting yet. Hopefully it will be in the title, because obviously I'll have filmed it and then worked out what I'm doing. But I'll be painting boats. You might only see me paint one boat, I don't know yet, depends how long it takes. Anyway, on to the next bit. Here we are at my desk and we have the sprue in front of us. I hope you can see it okay. I'm trying to get the lighting right, but everything's always a bit reflectivey, and even if I turn that off then it's still a bit reflectivey from somewhere else, so we'll see. But this is it, this is the sprue. This is Commonwealth Cruiser and Frigates Part A and B. So we have got 2 front hull sections and 2 rear hull sections for the cruiser. So you could put this front part of the cruiser with this rear part of the cruiser and make a heavy cruiser. This one and this one make a standard cruiser. This one and this one make, I think, a fast, and this one make a monitor. So you can make one cruiser in 4 different ways. And you've got the side panels here, various little engine parts and whatnot. The detailing is really crisp. All the parts are numbered, which is nice as well. You can see, the decking, the little guns, the little gun turrets and stuff. All these tubes and kind of wires and whatnot. Little chimblies and stuff. Here on these side panels you can see the cannons for the broadside and rivets and stuff as well, so there's a lot of detail on there. Here we have the bridge of the cruiser. I think, oh no, you still need this for the guns and stuff. We've got little prow parts for the front of the cruiser and for the frigates as well. This is a little side section for the bridge area. I'm loving the little, you know, eagle wings and stuff like this. This is the Russians, so obviously all of the factions will have, I assume all the factions will have their own kind of either a plastic sprue or something else. I know they're doing resin for this as well. On this other section here we have got the frigate decks, which have got little greeblies and cannons and stuff like that. Again, we've got the side, I don't know, skirts, I don't know what you call them, side of boat bits, again with lots of lovely detail for the broadside. And then we've got, as you can see on here, we've got little holes built into the deck of the cruiser. On the flip side, we've got little nubbins. And those nubbins are for the guns and generators. So although I think if you were like crazy good at green stuffing and magnetizing and stuff, you might be able to have a mix match of front and back. Maybe you could do it, like maybe. I don't know if you've had enough parts left over or not. I'd have to figure out after I've built it whether you could do that. I'm not sure you could build one cruiser and then switch it out to be a heavy cruiser or a fast cruiser or a standard cruiser. But what you can definitely do is change the gun / generator options, because you've got 1, 2, 3 types of this gun, which I think is the heavy gun battery. Oh, yep. 1, 2, 3 of this gun, which I believe is either a rocket battery or a mortar battery, because they look like they're firing up. And then these guns here, having had a brief look at the Dystopian Wars website, which I will leave a link in the doobly-doo down below, in the outfitting cards, which are like upgrades for the ships, the Russians have access to rail guns, and I'm guessing these are rail guns, because I can imagine this little area here powers it, sends energy down these little things, and then you've got these little prongs or like forks, and I imagine that they create the magnetic field that fires the little railgun shot through. So I'm going to guess that's what they are. I could be wrong, probably am, but I'm guessing. But also, instead of guns, you can switch them out for generators, which are these sections here and these sections here, which are lovely and detailed. They all look different, you know. Once painted up, you could definitely tell which one's which. I don't know what they represent yet. We haven't seen a full breakdown. We've seen how to build the basic shell, but we haven't seen what each part is necessarily. I've got a feeling this one's the shield generator, because I think I've seen this on other prototype ships. I think I've seen this on a prototype British ship in their at one of their shows, back when they did shows, obviously back when anyone did shows. So I think that's what that is. Honestly, I haven't got a Scooby-Doo what any of the others are. I may well pick one at random to be on, because they look cool. And again, here we've got little bridge parts for the frigates. This is the central part of the cruiser, and these are the side parts for the frigates. I have been warned ahead of time that the frigates are quite tight, but once you get them together and you glue them, they're solid. But they don't dry fit one, you know, they're kind of like 99.9%, and then you just have to squeeze them a little bit because they're a bit tight, but that's no bad thing. But the detail looks fantastic. Really looking forward to putting these together. Most of the detail, as you can tell, is on one side. They've got lots of little nubbins to help you glue things together, which I really like stuff like that. And just a little thing, as you can see on the sprue, they've got these little biffy bits, little pokey pokes. And on the other side, they've got little denty dents. And that, I've seen it on some sprues, but not GW don't, as far as I know, do it. But it's so you can, oops, you can put your sprues together and they stack really well. I know it's a little thing, but I really like it. Just if you're going to store them for any amount of time, then you can keep them stacked. I know that it's a little thing, it has no relevance to the situation, but I'd rather they put a thing in that we go, oh, that's cool, than just leave it out for no reason. Because it doesn't really cost them anything to do that, but it's just a nice little addition. So I want to get these put together. I might do a little slow-mo of me putting one together. I think I'm going to put the first frigate together, and then I might show you the second one. We'll see how we go. Alright, see you in a bit. Okay, so I have built one of the frigates. Put together very nice. I was really worried that it would feel, because it's plastic, it might feel a bit flimsy or fragile, but it doesn't. It feels proper sturdy. As you can see, that's the deck for it. That's what, 4mm thick? 3 or 4mm thick? I'm going to measure it now. Should have measured it. That is, looks like 4mm thick. So that's sturdy enough on its own. And then with the walls of the frigate, goes together really nicely. There was a slight issue with the, I don't know what you call this bit, the bridge, this area here. When you glue it down, there are a couple of little nubbins you have to trim off, but that's not a big deal, and it does say it in the instructions as well. So I've cleaned up the other pieces. I've decided on, so this is all the parts for the cruiser. I'm going to do a heavy cruiser, because why not? You know, it's only one ship, it might as well be a big ass one. And we've got the frigate here. I've got examples of the guns. We don't know as yet 100% what they are, but as I've said, I'm going to guess that this is their standard heavy gun battery, because it looks like a big gun, looks like it might spin around or something. As I've said, I think that's going to be a rail gun, but I could be wrong. And this looks like to be a mortar or rocket pod kind of thing, but that'll be for the cruiser. So we start off with a deck for the frigate. I've cleaned them all up, so they're ready to go. Didn't require a huge amount of cleaning. I would say these are on par with, you know, with GW kits. You know, these are high quality plastic kits. I'm not going to name names of companies or anything like that, but I have seen plastic kits from other companies that are maybe, you know, have less detail and are cheaper as a result. You know, I don't mean that in a poo-pooing of any particular company, but these are definitely your high-end models. You know, I would equate these to GW or Malifaux or any of the other kind of high detail kits. One thing I have noticed about these, and as I've been taking them out and putting them together, or at least cleaning them up, there doesn't seem to be, I'm very limited in my knowledge of how, like, tooling and machining of plastic parts or anything like that, but these don't seem to have the issue that Malifaux sometimes has, where you need 10 random bits to make a head. Having spoken to a few people in the biz, apparently Malifaux models get designed, this is just, you know, anecdotal evidence, so please ignore me if you know better. Malifaux kits get designed and then they get shipped out and then broke down onto a sprue, however that kind of seems fit by the people who do it. Whereas Warcradle seem to be doing that in-house so that they can break down a model in the best possible way for it to be rebuilt, rather than just, we've designed this cool sculpture, break it down however it needs to be broken down to fit on a sprue. So these feel like, you know, relatively easy to put together, and kind of, you know, you're not missing any, like, oh, why am I needing 5 bits to make this thing when it should be 2 bits? And I guess that's the advantage of having stuff done in-house. So I've just put the con, the bridge, the citadel, whatever you want to call it, put that together. That's just 2 parts. And that would, here's the interesting bit, is that would normally go in there, but there are two little nubbins just there and there, which just need trimming off. I thought I'd better show you just in case anyone's not sure. It does say it in the instructions. But I thought I'd point it out. And it's a bit of a tight fit to go in, but it's not, you know, that's good. You can effectively dry fit it. And a little bit of plastic glue. Oops. And there we have my second frigate. Oh, nearly done. They do have little shields that go on the front. There's a little, you know, nub in there, and there's these little shields, which is actually kind of a nice little touch, for a couple of reasons. One is it hides what would have been a nasty join on the front of the model, so it gives it a nice little front detail. And two, because there are what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the kit, and you've got two pairs of two, you've got two plain ones in this, you've got two with stars on, and two with what looks like a double-headed eagle or a V or something like that. I don't know how well you can see this on the camera. So if I was to get another sprue, I could have two more frigates with Blaine shields, and they could be one squadron. Squadron? Yeah. Or I could, if I bought more, I could then have another 4, and they could have stars on, so they could be another squadron. So it's a good way of differentiating between your frigates if they get mixed up. So that's kind of cool. I like that. That's a good aspect. And like I say, these are surprisingly solid for little plastic ships. You know, I could throw these about, no bother at all. There is a slight, you know, obviously a join between the front and the back half of the bridge area. But if you, you know, I'm not going to bother, but you could easily just run a little bit of glue, plastic glue, to melt those two halves together a bit more, and then I could sand that down just to make sure it's almost invisible. The detail, once you put it together, the detail really pops, I think. You know, you can really see that broadside, the little guns on the front there. Even, I don't know how well you can see this on camera. There's a little door at the front of the, you see that? The little door at the front of the cabin area? That's how big a little dude is. Obviously they don't have little, you know, 1mm high dudes. But that's really cool. And it actually does make me think about, you know, miniaturing things. So these decks look quite chunky compared to the size of a door. Like, you know, the deck would be the width of a man just for a plank of wood, but you won't be able to see the detail, and that's obviously a balancing act you have to do when you're creating kits like this. What would be almost invisible on a ship in a real world setting, if it was a scale model, you know, where's the fun in that? You want to see the guns, you want to be able to see detail and rivets and stuff. Even those rivets would be the size of a man's head. Well, yeah, but this is a cool toy soldier thing. This isn't a scale model. Anyway, so that's the two frigates done. I now have a little mini squadron of 2 frigates. And here are the pieces for the cruiser. Another reason I wanted to go for the heavy cruiser is because it's comprised of more pieces, so I would get a better idea of kind of how it goes together. You've got the front part of the deck and the rear part of the deck. They can be switched depending on what sort of cruiser you make. I am going to be making a heavy cruiser, so I need this big front part of the deck. And these side parts here that just kind of tuck in, even dry fit really nicely, so that's good. On my phone, I do have the assembly instructions for the Borodino battle fleet, which you can download from the website. So I am going for the cruiser, not the monitor. So it tells you all the different ways you can build depending on what one you're using. I'm going for the heavy cruiser. So I need parts 2 and 4, which I've got. 5 and 6, which are at the back here. 10 and 9. 11 and 12. And they're parts of the other bits and pieces. So away we go. And again, like I say, it's been really nice to see that the very little in the way of mould lines, and any that there are in parts that are easy to clean. So along these straight edges here and here, so they're really easy to clean and prepare, which is always nice to see. So we'll pop that on. We'll do the other side. I'm just using some Tamiya extra thin. You could use super glue if you wanted, but you know, they are plastic models, they are designed to use plastic glue. Personally, I really like the Tamiya extra thin because it, you know, it really fills those crevices up. I think sometimes when a lot of people really like I think it's Revel with the little metal needle, and you blip blip blip, but sometimes that can go a bit blobby, in my humble opinion. And then we will. You can see on the back there, there's little nubbins to fit everything together, which is nice. Looking forward to this. I've been lucky enough to run demos of this game, Dystopian Wars, at shows in the before times. So to actually see, you know, production stuff from Warcradle has been really pleasant, really a joy to see that, wow, you know, after all this time, it's here. So that's the front. Then we'll just do the rear. Trying to make sure I don't use too much plastic glue. I don't want to flood the area and make it, you know, crazy. And then on we go with these little rear sides. And there's little parts like, I don't know how well you can see, there's a little indent there, a little plug for it to fit in. I'm on a boat. I'm on a motherfucking boat. I'm on a boat. There we go. Once you get it all together and tucked in, that's really nice. I'll just hold it for a little while because plastic glue does take a little longer to dry than your standard kind of super glue does. And Tamiya extra thin takes a little longer as well because it's extra thin. In fact, I'm just going to add a little drop in kind of these inner seams. And just pinch that. And while I'm pinching that, actually, they haven't confirmed it yet, but under here there's a little circle within a circle, and I wonder if that would be the perfect space for a 4mm magnet. Looking at it, I think it is, but unfortunately I don't have any 4mm magnets to fit. And then you could magnetise the turrets with a little 1 or 2mm tunnel-like magnet in the bottom of that, and that'd be really cool. You don't need to; they sit in there quite nicely when you're pootling it about, and I think they would fit a little what's the word? A little snugger once you had what's the word? Once you painted it, they'd probably fit a little snugger because you'd have that, you know, 0.001 of a millimetre, which just there we go. So we've got the superstructure, chassis, I don't know what you call it on ships, the main bit, the bulk, got the start of a ship. So we're just going to go to the instructions because now we're building the I've got a little generator there which I'm going to fit in the back. In my mind that's a Fury generator, and a Fury generator would increase the speed of the ship and also increase its fray, which would be its hand-to-hand combat assault kind of statistic. And on the front I'm going to imagine this is a railgun because that's particularly good at close range. So in my head this little heavy cruiser is going to choo-choo-choo up, shoot with its heavy railgun, shoot with its broadside, and then assault and do a big massive attack. In my head canon that's what's happening. So oops, skip too far ahead. So now I'm assembling parts 16 and 15 to create, and again they've got little nubbins so things lock together nicely. Put together super well, perfect. And then on number 19 goes on the side there, and it only goes on one side, it doesn't go on the other, so you can't get it wrong. I mean, not unless you try really hard. Which I'm sure some people will do. They might even call it kit bashing, I don't know. And of course, because these are plastics, if you've got any, you know, things you want to do with them, I'm sure you could. I'm no kit bash expert, but I'm sure if you had, you know, if you already had a bunch of ships for Dystopian Wars from the previous editions of the game. And then these two side parts go on. Ooh, he dropped that. And there's little nook for that to fit in, and again they only fit one way round. Oops, that's my. I apologise sincerely. I'm asking about the guns, you see. About what represents what gun. So I'm getting some replies just to double check about generators and stuff like that. There we go. Feels like it's not going to fit, but once it does, you've got a nice solid bond there. And then, what bit do we do next? Then we have part 21, which sits on there, and then this sits on there. And there's all sorts of plugs and doodads to make sure it fits properly. And again, it only fits one way round. Ho-ho. And again, only fits around one way round, which is a nice touch because it makes it easier for stupids like me. That slots in there super nicely like that. And then this goes in there. Oh, I would recommend. Oh, this is my fault for doing it in the wrong way. Attaching the bridge to the central structure first and then gluing it down. But either way, that's looking super cool. We've got a heavy cruiser backed up by 2 frigates. That took no time at all. I mean, you know, there's a little bit of cleaning, but only as much as you'd get on any kit. Obviously you can clean as much or as little as you like, you know, your personal preference. On those straws, just like whack it together, chuck some paint on, bish bash bosh, job's a good one. Lastly, by no means leastly, I didn't want to cut it off in case I lost it or it pinged away. That's another nice reason that you get 6 of these. If you do ping them and they disappear. A little shield to go on the front, just to prove that it's a real Russian Commonwealth heavy cruiser. Just take those out for a second. Dabble, do you? Oops. There we go, perfection. Yeah. So I don't know exactly what this is armed with as yet because I don't have confirmation on what all the little gubbins are. And we've got 2 frigates which are armed with what they've armed with. I think they've got gun batteries as I recall. And we have a Russian Commonwealth, I think it's a Borodino class, heavy cruiser with a forward railgun and an aft Fury generator. Lovely stuff. Really nice. Wait and see. I think you're focusing. Hope so. Lovely detail. Really nice models. This is, you know, kind of follows on from the original design of the Russians with these kind of circles in the middle, but they are brought bang up to date, and I would be happy to have a little fleet of those. I will, however, be getting the Enlightened half of any starter box that Straw and I buy, because I'm an Enlightened Wild West Extras player, so of course I've got to play Enlightened still. 8 factions in the game, although they are split up into sub-factions as well. 2 of which carry over from the Wild West Exodus, which are the Covenant of the Enlightened and the Union, which is which is the Enlightened and America, respectively. These are the Russian Commonwealth. You've got the Prussians, who I'm thinking about investing in. The British Crown, the Ottoman Sultanate, and the Latin Alliance, and the Celestian Empire. I think for undercoat I'm just going to prime these in a flat grey, so I'm not going to show you that bit. They're just going to be grey, and then I'll see where I go after that. I don't know if a Zenith will really do all that much on a model like this, so I think a flat grey will be fine. So we'll see you in the next bit. So here they are, undercoated, primed, whatever you want to call it. We have got the frigates, which look really nice. There is a little bit of a, you know, I didn't squeeze hard enough at the top here, so there's a little bit of a line. Not a massive deal. If I, you know, I could go in there and fill it, but I'm not going to bother because I can't be bothered. Love the detail, really. An undercoat really helps it all pop out. Those cannons look great. You know, the little wings at the front there are really nice. The little doorways and stuff is really cool, and the guns and everything else. So yeah, the frigates are fantastic. But here is the big boy, the heavy cruiser. Lovely, lovely stuff. Couple of highlights for me are definitely the the broadsides all the way down the ship. Look fantastic. I love this little entry point with a little ladder you can climb up and go in. Just really putting that on there really adds a sense of scale. You know, it tells you exactly how big the ship is. You know, the conning tower is fantastic as well. Yeah, really nice. You know, there are some tiny gaps, but they're not, you know, they're part of the structure of the ship, so they don't look out of place. I think they look more out of place because of the very pale grey undercoat. I think they stand out a bit more. But you know, it's all good in the hood. I've done some of the gun options. I've decided to go with 2 of these, which I think are rail guns, but I don't know. And then also this generator thing, which I'm going to paint red and glowing like it's a Fury generator in my head cannon, so then I can switch it out. Not that I'll be using this probably, because I'll be playing the Enlightened when they arrive rather than the Russians, but you know, want it to look cool. The only art I could find is this image here. This is the cover art of the Hunt of the Prometheus box set. You've got the Enlightened over on one side. Sorry about that light reflection. You've got the light on the Enlightened rather on one side, and you've got the Russians over there. Doesn't give me a huge amount to go on. However, I do like the kind of that dark blue grey against the kind of yellowy wood colour, so I'm going to stick with that. So I think what I'm going to do is go for a full undercoat of dark sea blue from Vallejo, and then we'll probably do a light dry brush with some dark Reaper to help the details pop. I'm going to apply the dark sea blue with an airbrush just because I've got one and I want to, but you don't have to by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just choosing to do that because I happen to have an airbrush on hand. So I'm going to do that and let you know how it goes. See you in a second. Right, so done a base coat of dark sea blue from Vallejo through my airbrush, and now I'm going to do some dry brushing, starting with dark Reaper from G-Dub, and then following up with Thunderhawk Blue, also from JW. Got a bit of cardboard I'm using as a dry brush palette thing. Trying to get working at those bristles. You're better off not having, you know, having less on there and building up slowly rather than, you know, trying to go crazy with it. Take your time. I'm just going to dry brush the whole thing, I think, and then we'll see how we go from there. I know a lot of people poo-poo dry brushing, and that's fair enough, I guess. But I think on certain things it can work really well. Texture like this is ideal. Things like fur, I think it's going to bring these sharp textures up really nicely. We can always wash it down afterwards if we think it's if it comes out a bit chalky or anything like that. We can always do a nice glaze over it. So that dry brush is done, really picked everything out. The dark Raper I did as just a general dry brush, but the Thunderhawk blue I did kind of in a downwards motion. I really picked out those deets. I think that these will do really well with an oil wash. I don't have any oils yet, it's not something I've ever looked at. Just because, you know, it means getting a whole new set of stuff and thinners and stuff like that. I don't know much about it, but I think from what I've seen online, I think oil washes or enamel washes to kind of pin wash into those crevices and around those rivets will look really, really good. Unfortunately, I don't have that, so I'm just going to do my best and with a fine brush and some Agrax Earthshade. Reason I'm using Agrax, I think the dark brown will give kind of a nice interest against the blue rather than using a black. But we'll see. I am kind of making this up as I go. I'm just going to kind of drag. Try and really keep it in the recesses. So this isn't an all over wash. You know, just splooging it everywhere. This is really about targeting the areas you want it to be. I'm going to do around the rivets, around all the guns. We'll be painting the guns metallic eventually, and that'll look really good. Really help them pop. Like you can do this, I think, but I think with an oil wash it'd be much, you know, you just tap it and it would go where you want it. I think that'd be really cool, but again, like I say, it's not something I've tried. I think I would like to. It's definitely something I can see me looking into in the future. So, I've done with the Agrax Earthshade, which has darkened it down a little bit. So I'm going to take some Miskatonic Grey from Scale 75, adding that to the Thunderhawk Blue to get a highlight colour, which I'm then just going to do some edge highlighting just on these kind of points, just those top point surfaces that I want to highlight, just to kind of help it pop a little bit as well. And things like rivets, you know, the centre of these triangles. You know, just to help them pop a little bit. Okay, so that's all that done. Next I'm going to do the decking, which I realise I should have painted before this part. What I should have done is primed it, base coated it before the dry brushing done the decking. Then I could have touched up any base coat that I needed to do and then done the dry brushing. But you know what, you live and learn. So I'm going in with my Rosemary & Co. Series 33 size 2, going in with Rakarth Flesh from G-Dub. I'm just going to paint in all the decking. Trying not to make too much of a mess and get it everywhere. We can always top it up, tidy it up with a base coat if I need to. Which I probably will, because like an idiot I did this the wrong way around. But like I say, you live and learn. That's why I think it's always worth, if you're painting an army, or in this case a fleet, it is always worth doing a test model, so you can learn from any mistakes that you make. For example, I already think that I might have had my base coat a little too dark. It looks fine, well, at least I think it looks fine on camera, with the little monitor on the camera built in. But in the flesh they look a bit dark, because obviously when I'm painting I'm using my painting lights, which are very bright, and I'm looking through a magnifier, which is going to change how it looks. On the other hand, once I've finished all the details and stuff, and I've done all the metallics and whatnot, then maybe it won't be too dark. I won't really know until I've finished, which is why it's always worth doing a test model. And while this isn't a test model per se, I am going to try and use the lessons that I've learned from this on my Enlightened fleet when I get hold of them. I don't know if those ships have similar decking or whatnot. I've got a feeling that they're like enclosed, but I could be wrong. So anyway, I'm going to go in with a couple of coats of the Rakarth Flesh, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do after that. So I've done the 2 coats of Rakarth Flesh to get a solid base coat, and now I'm going to go in with some contrast Agarose Dunes to pick out all of the decking detail. I may well give this 2 coats, or at least a very heavy going over, to make sure that it goes right into all those cracks and really picks them up. I've got a little tissue by the side of me so I can dab off any excess if I need to. And then I'll have to wait for this to dry, and that'll take a little while, but I'll be working on the decking again for a little bit, so should be okay. waiting for the contrast paint to dry, I'm going to go in and do some details with this selection of metallics from Scale Colour. We've got Decayed Metal, Viking Gold and Amber Alchemy. So I'm going to do the prow, I think this bit, the front bit of the boat with the little wings, and I'm going to do anything else that I see that I go, oh, that would look cool in that colour. So we'll start with the Decayed Metal and work our way up from there. I do have a separate brush for my metallics, which is always worth having. The flakes in the metallics can potentially damage your brushes. On with that Decayed Metal. I've done that on this prow, a couple of little circles on the side, and these tubes, which I'm actually not going to highlight with the Viking Gold. I'm instead going to make them look coppery. But anyway, I'm going in with the Viking Gold. I'm going to highlight the circles and the prow. So let's see how this goes. So that's that now, and now I'm going to go in with the Amber Alchemy, and this is really just a, like a little blip highlight kind of thing. Just to make the edges of the shield pop. A little bit of edge highlighting on those. And these wings, just the tips. Making sure that you're pulling the pigment to the area you want it highlighted. Okay, so that's done. Looks really nice. The gold I think looks really good against the kind of the dark sea blue. That kind of yellow against blue kind of contrast looks really nice. So I've done that. I'm now going in with some pure copper again from Scale 75, and this is, I'm going to just do these tubes, highlight them up. Might be a little bit too bright, but we'll see how we go. Right, now that bit's done, we have this kind of finish. Looks like this, which I think is pretty cool. I've done the guns as well. Done those. I don't know if the copper looks as different as I would like it to against the gold, but it is what it is. This is an experiment after all. But I think the gold looks pretty cool, especially on the prow of this one. Just nice different effect. So now I'm going to do a particularly a bit that I'm kind of a bit nervous about actually. I'm going to paint the metal, as in the silvery metal. I'm using Exhaust Manifold, which is a Vallejo metal colour paint. putting it on a dry palette rather than a wet palette, because sometimes it can get funky on a wet palette apparently. I've not tried it because people keep telling me that it does funky stuff, so we'll see. I'm going to be using this to do any metal bits, so probably bits like around here, probably the funnels, but the bit that's scaring me most is I'm going to be doing all of the broadside guns, because I want those to pop a little bit. And we'll do some parts on the weapons as well. So, and I'm probably going to do some bits on these gun batteries, just to kind of tie those weapon elements together. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do yet. I'm just going to have a little play, as it were. I'm going to go in and do a lot of broadside guns. I might go in afterwards with a null oil wash, depending on how they look when they've done, just to darken them down and re-emphasize the barrel. Or I might just go in and fill the barrel with just a bit of black paint. We'll see. Not too worried about the underneath, because you're not going to see that. These are, after all, warships, and you do want to emphasise that those broadsides. Something I did notice as I was putting the cruiser together. So the heavy cruiser has a longer front end, which effectively gives it another 4 barrels on its broadside either side. And that's why you've got a heavy broadside instead of just a broadside, which I thought was a cool, little thing to notice. So I'm going to crack on with this and be super tedious. Try not to mess it up too much. Okay, so I'm almost done with the silver metallics. I'm just going to go in with some aluminium from colour. I say aluminium, you say aluminium. Let's just agree that different people say different things, which is fine. And really, this isn't like a massive thing. This is just a specifically, I really want to pop those broadsides off. Because I think one of the things I've been thinking about whilst painting this is, as they are gaming pieces, you want to, if possible, emphasize specific gaming traits. So maybe you want to do a unit of Space Marines, and you want to emphasize the plasma guns on those Space Marines, so you know where they are and who's doing what. In this case, I really want to make those broadsides pop, as well as the individual weapons, so that when I do get a chance to play, my opponent knows exactly what they're up against. So I'm going to just do some final last details with this aluminium. I'll see you in a little while. So, that's the shiny bits done. Pew pew. Next, I am going to try and do some OSL on the guns. So I'm going to use some white. I've got some Battlehammer ink mixed with white from Vallejo, and going to paint in all the bits I think will be OSL-y. So these coils on this, what I'm going to call a Fury generator, and the in-between bits of these prongs on what I'm going to call railguns. So I'm nearly done. I've just done my whites in those areas, and now I'm going to go in with some fluorescent. I've got fluorescent orange from Vallejo, and I've got some acid pink from Scale 75, which is part of their FX Fluor Experience box. Really like a lot of the stuff that's in here, because you see a lot of unusual fluorescence. They've got a fluorescent white, which isn't a fluorescent white, it's more like a weird metallic sheen thing, but anyway, they've got some cool colours like this. So I'm going to use this acid pink for the railguns. We'll see how that goes. It will naturally look better over the white because it's a fluorescent colour, and they do. Probably going to need 2 or 3 coats of this to make it look good. And I'm going to go over these silver bars here as well, just to make it look like they're charging that central area up. Keep going with this, and then let's see if it comes out, and then I can always exaggerate the glow afterwards. And on this area with the what I'm going to call a Fury generator, I'm going to use the fluorescent orange from Vallejo, because that's the same orange I've been using for RJ1027 in Wild West Exodus, so it kind of feels right that I would use them matchingly. If I wanted to, I could do some more red colouring in this rather than just doing it over white. But these guys are just test models, so I can always change things up when I'm doing it for a full army. So there we go, we've got our generator and our two guns. I've just done some fluorescent just to emphasise them, and I will go to the spinny thing and let you know what I thought of these minis. Go team, go. Okie dokie, so here we have my pretty much finished Russian Commonwealth cruiser and heavy cruiser and two frigates for Dystopian Wars. Had a blast painting these guys. Thank you so much to the people at Warcradle Studios who sent them over. Really fun to paint. Really actually opened my eyes quite a lot. So I've never painted ships before. I've only ever painted like 28 to 32 mil dude persons. Obviously you don't have a face on these, you don't necessarily have to worry about clothing. Really they're much more about finding a scheme that you like and a way to paint it. I think that moving forward I would like, I've been thinking about getting some oil paints to do oil washes because that seems to be the hotness at the moment. And it seems like a nice way of just blipping on and getting some lines and spaces filled in. So I kind of think that would work really well on models like this. Not these specifically necessarily, but you know, this kind of detail, these mechanical inorganic parts I think would work really nicely. So maybe these could push me over the edge. I don't know yet. But they were a lot of fun to paint. I like that. So with other models, like of humans, you kind of have to worry about every single detail a little bit, because you go, oh, he's got this pouch or this, you know, hip flask or whatever. But you can really pick the bits you want to emphasise. These guys are definitely not finished. I could easily go another few hours on these, but I need my Parker Paints video to go up. They could do with being tidied up a little bit, but they don't look... sometimes if you paint a force or a unit of minis, humanoid minis, and you go, oh yeah, but I'm going to miss this step or skip that step, it's really obvious, like, oh, you can be bothered to clean the skin up or whatever. But actually I think on these big boats it doesn't look massively obvious, which is really cool. Lots of fun to paint, lots of fun to put together. I love the broadsides. They were a pain to paint. I wouldn't want to paint 1,000 of them, like I wouldn't want to paint a unit of 30 or anything like that, but for the amount of effort you put in to the amount you get out, I love the broadsides, the little cannons down the side, and that's actually something that I was worried that the dark blue, kind of dark sea blue base coat would look really too dark, but actually once you put everything else on there it creates a nice contrast. I now don't know how I'm going to paint my Enlightened, because I was going to paint them really, really light. If I paint them really light, then I'm going to have to paint everything else dark as a contrast, so I don't know what I'm going to do now. I guess I'll just have to wait until those miniatures are released. Thank you for watching if you did. If you didn't, then you're not here, so I have to thank you for that. The Anastasia, as I'm going to call it, is ready to blow some stuff up. If you liked the video, leave some comments in the doobly-doo down below, we'd appreciate it. If you want to find our Patreon, that'll be in the doobly-doo as well. If you do no other things, make sure you do this. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you liked it and want to subscribe. If you don't like it and don't want to subscribe, you don't have to like and subscribe, but we would like it if you liked and subscribed. And until next time, stay hammered. Do 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 do.